Have I ever told you about the tragedy of the hero of time? It's a sad tale that takes place with this incarnation of Link from Ocarina of Time. And we're going to talk about it on this episode of The AJ Show. As per usual, get yourself a beverage. Sit back, relax. Maybe get yourself a tissue box as we end Zelda Month on the tragedy of the hero of time. Great Scott! The Black Friday sales are outrageous right now, and Raycon, right here, the everyday earbud, has got you covered. It is currently on sale at $59.99 at rayconglobal.com. Get you a pair of the everyday earbuds at a low cost. Get it for a stocking stuffer idea for a friend, family member, or pick up one for yourself, or do both. I don't care. It is $59.99 right now. As I am recording this video, this deal will not last. Go to rayconglobal.com. Referencing back to the Hyrule Historia and the Legend of Zelda Encyclopedia, first of all, let me correct something for everybody when it comes to the Four Swords. We've talked about the Zelda timeline the last couple episodes. We talked about the placement of where we feel Tears of the Kingdom falls. But I still kind of go back and forth on which way I want to go with Tears of the Kingdom, to be honest. I like the idea now more so on the idea that Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom takes place in a very distant future, which it does. It does take place in a distant future. But to intertwine it with the structure of the Zelda timeline, of course, is difficult. So maybe they refined Hyrule down the ways after everything is declined and kingdom's gone and so forth, and we just start anew. I don't know. But let me correct something when it comes to the Four Swords, which has been a game of debate for me because, again, I've never played Four Swords. And here we go. Ganon does not show up, despite what this blurb in the history of Hyrule says in this page of 11. Despite what it says, and doing some more research, Ganon does not show up in Four Swords. Let's clear that air right now, moving forward. But here, let's talk about the tragedy of the hero of time, because it is a sad story, and it's a story I want to dive into for this final episode for Zelda Month, and wrapping it up on this sad note, unfortunately, about the hero of time. But going through Ocarina of Time being my first game that I've played when it comes to the Legend of Zelda series, I loved it. Loved the game. It was a fun experience. The time travel element was really cool. You know, I get to play the child version of Link and then the adult version of Link, which more like a teenager, to be honest, because, 7 years in the future. We're depicting him as 17 and young Link is 10. So we'll go with that. That was the thing that I loved about Ocarina of Time, was the fact that, you travel in the time. So there was a 7-year period of where Ganondorf really wrecked crap. Although you can't really tell through the rest of the land of Hyrule, but you can really tell in Castletown it's really messed up. But anywho's, we go in, we defeat Ganondorf and Ganon, and we win the day. However, because of this other timeline where the hero dies, we have to create that timeline split where, hey, let's say Link is dead. All right, that's one of the saddest ways to go as a hero of time, is to be killed and murdered by Ganondorf. But the adult timeline continues, of course, with that in mind. But we go into a different direction with it continuing to the timeline where the hero dies, and we get different game titles. But then you look at the adult timeline where Link wins, but Zelda, of course, returns Link back into his childhood to relive his childhood. So let's talk about the childhood timeline, because that's the saddest one of them all, is the childhood timeline. And the game Majora's Mask really, really lays it on thick on being one of the darker Zelda games to experience. You know, even though you're in a parallel universe when it comes to Termina, and you're basically being selfless and helping all these people with their troubles, and of course reverting through the 3-day time cycle, because within 3 days you got a clock ticking and it's 72 hours to save the world. But thanks to the Ocarina of Time, you travel back in time, you reset everything again, you go venture off and take care of the next region in the land of Termina, and rinse and repeat. Everything you've done for these people don't freaking matter. It doesn't. You're just in it for the mask collection. That's all you're in it for, is just collecting masks and getting Majora's Mask defeated and get it back into the hands of the Happy Mask salesman. And so basically Link, being the hero of time, in Termina's sense, you're undoing everything you did, but you're still keeping the mask, but you still have money in the bank somehow. I claim bank fraud when it comes to that. Thank you. Thank you, Termina, for that one. Oh, goodness. But it's just weird how, you know, you get to keep your mask, and if you deposit money in the bank, the money stays in the bank even when you revert 3-day cycle. I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense. Time travel laws, y'all. It don't make sense. But that's the thing about Majora's Mask, is how it is a dark story. Basically, at the end of Ocarina of Time, Navi leaves you, who is your fairy companion throughout the adventure of Ocarina of Time. And when you go back in time to relive your childhood, Navi leaves you and abandons you. It's like, bye, see ya, don't need you anymore, kid. And then Link is venturing into the woods to find his lost fairy, his lost companion and friend. And then he gets ambushed by Skull Kid, who's got Majora's Mask. He's possessed by the Majora's Mask. And that's how he ends up into the land of Termina through this parallel portal, and goes through the whole, again, 3-day cycle, rinse and repeat, defeats Majora's Mask, everything's back to normal. But at the end of the game, he's still wandering the forest looking for his companion Navi. This takes you to then Twilight Princess, where the failed execution of Ganondorf takes place. He's still got the Triforce of Power, and the execution is a failure, as one of the sages, jabs him with a sword, but keeps him alive somehow through the power of the Triforce, and he kills one of the sages. Sages banish him to the Twilight Realm, and then enters, Twilight Princess game, where it's a new Link. And again, this takes place, I believe, 100 years after the events of Ocarina of Time. And so this is a whole new Link. Hyrule is vastly different within a 100-year period. All right. Ganondorf is back, using Zant, of course, and the Twilight people in the Twilight Realm to take over the Light World, which is Hyrule, of course, using Twilight. And so, you and the Twilight Princess, Midna, who is basically this imp-like creature who later on, of course, reveals that she is the Twilight Princess. She's very beautiful at the end of the game, of course, whenever she's back to her former self, and you defeat Ganondorf. But throughout your adventure, of course, of Twilight Princess, you meet a character known as the Hero Shade. And it says this in Hyrule Historia, page 118, under the Twilight era, a Twilight Princess, in this blurb, Link, the descendant of the Hero of Time. And it says, when Link steps into the twilight, the crest of the Triforce of Courage on the back of his hand begins to glow, and he is transformed into a beast. When he regains his human form, he finds himself wearing the green garb of the hero. The spirit of Link's ancestor, the Hero of Time, teaches him his secrets. Ever since returning to the child era, the swordsman has lamented? That's not a word. Lamented the fact that he was not remembered as a hero. This is the reason he passes down the proof of his courage and his abilities and secret techniques to Link of this era, addressing him as son. Minusing the symbol of the words right there, of course, that's what becomes of Link and the childhood timeline. He becomes basically the hero's shade, a skeleton-like figure with armor and a shield and a sword, and he passes down his teachings and knowledges and moves to this incarnation of Link, the hero of Twilight. And that's what becomes of the hero of time in the childhood timeline. Now, as far as the adult timeline concerned, with no hero to be found, Ganon returns and then Hyrule gets flooded because there's no hero that appears to save the day, which leads us into the Wind Waker, which is, years and years down the line. The hero of time is forgotten. He's no longer remembered. They don't care about him no more. And that's the other sad tragedy when it comes to the hero of time. He's either dead because he failed his mission. You get the hero is dead timeline, which leads to A Link to the Past, the original Legend of Zelda game, and so forth. Or you get the childhood timeline where the hero, he's not regarded as a hero at all because the events of Ocarina of Time doesn't really happen at all. And he basically has a new adventure through Majora's Mask and then into Twilight Princess, where he's passing down his knowledge to the new Link. And he's just basically a shadow, a shade of a hero. And then the adult timeline where he's forgotten about. That's the sad tragedy of the hero of time. That incarnation of Link right there is a very, very sad incarnation and a sad life for this one. And it's a very critical Link to when you think about it. This is the Link that really creates this timeline split. That's why he's called the hero of time. Despite what happens through timelines and such, he's forgotten, he's dead, and he's not regarded as a hero at all. And that's the tragedy of the hero of time. And we're going to conclude Zelda Month with that. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there. Get ready for the holiday season, y'all. And take care.